Yes, we do.
And Joanna, I'm sure Joanna will pop in there.
Probably so.
Yeah,
But that's Chris from Freeman, in case you were.
okay.
So, let's call to order this.
Make sure he can hear us.
Regularly,
Yep, I can hear you.
this regularly scheduled meeting of MSRAC on November 8th at 9. The agenda will be a little slightly different today because at 9:30, we're gonna have a discussion that we invited, Freeman, the fire marshal and the public works director to specifically review alternates for the Main Street project. So I tried to kind of slim down the agenda a little bit and like front load it so we can conduct our kind of our regular business before 9:30, and then we should have a good discussion on the alternates. So I guess next up is approval of minutes of the October 11th, 2024 regular meeting.
Well, since Joanne's not here to contradict me, I will move that we accept the minutes.
So is there a second on the motion to approve the minutes? Me second. I'll second.
There you go.
So any discussion on the minutes?
Thank you.
And it
It
was-
turns out that I could have done them that day. Anyway, whatever I had following that only took like 10 minutes.
I thought they were very, very good, very good. So all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the minutes are approved. So moving on to correspondence. Here's one thing that came to us via me as chairperson. This is an invitation from the Conservation Commission to see if any members are interested in joining the Thompson Sustainability Committee. And I know that I did forward a copy of this letter to each of you in your email. It looks like they anticipate a commitment of participation at quarterly meetings. So if anybody is interested, please contact Tira or Judy Rondo,
Or Meg,
or who?
Meg Washburn,
Okay,
because she's the conservation agent. so-
Right.
And any of the above.
any of the above. So moving on to item 4, citizens' comments.
Any comments, Joe?
So we'll then move on to number 5, committee business, to discuss the community investment fund update. And like I said, I put the other projects kind of mostly ahead of Main Street so that, well, okay, we can wait and discuss that then. So we were talking about a project timeline for your grant. I mean, do you, is that?
Yeah, well, so we talked about that at the last meeting because I needed to send an updated one prior to the creation of the assistance agreement. So I did send that in, all the other stuff. I did, although I do not believe they will ultimately be necessary on the essentially the intake documents that DECD sends. You know, they say, oh, do you need SHPO review? Do you need NDDB review? And then there was a third one. Oh, that one that I had such a hard time finding that you helped me find, the one about the flood stuff.
Yes, that SEPA.
Thank you. Anyway, so the SHPO environmental review request is now an online form, so I finished that this week. There is no indication of NDDB species there, but I sent the request in anyway, so I'm just covering all those bases. There doesn't appear to be a way to request a SEPA review, but based on what Janet finally was able to help me find, I believe that it is not a factor there because we're not making a new road. We're constructing a road in situ essentially. And that was like one of the only things that could have triggered it.
Really high thresholds for SEPA review. It was like, if you're constructing more than, it was like 500 houses.
It was,
this
yeah,
many
it was very
thousands of
large.
this. It was a really, really huge
Yeah.
project. I thought we were below the threshold in all categories.
For the layperson like myself, can you explain what is SEPA?
I don't remember what it stands for,
Okay.
but it had to do with flooding.
Okay,
Well, and also just, like the Environmental Protection Agency, just like a really like high level review, for big infrastructure projects that, go like way up the chain of
okay.
federal reviewers for.
We had a similar, like, didn't know if we needed it or not with the high school track, that
Okay.
Ty and Bond eventually resolved that we did not. In any case, so all of that was sent off before I went on vacation. I followed up with DECD yesterday just to make sure they're not still waiting, did I miss anything while I was away? She said, no, it's in the queue and they're on review. So I am still hopeful that we're gonna get an assistance agreement by the end of the year. I have no way of knowing if that's really true or not. As evidenced by our other large grants, right, that took forever to, in fact, one of them we're still waiting on, on an assistance agreement. But this one, I think once it bubbles to the top in their review queue, I think we'll be fine.
I would just like to point out, Brian has joined us, so now we have 5 members. Hi, Ryan, you can hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, but we can't hear you, so let me switch this.
Testing, testing.
Which is.
Good morning.
I can hear you. I'm Chris. I'm from Freeman.
Hi, Chris. Okay, yeah, I didn't have the speakers on the monitor here on, so now we can hear you too.
Excellent.
Great.
Joanne called, she said she's unable to log on to the meeting, asked if you could send her the link first.
Okay, I can do that, so I just need to zoom away from the screen. Continue while I
Okay,
do this for Joanne.
we'll talk about Main Street. We'll get in a little bit. Wow, we're going so fast today. All right, I know, this is something, is it all right if I jump to see other new committee business while we're waiting for Joanne to? Is everybody okay with that? So the only new thing we had after I put out the agenda for people to think about, which I sent you an email this morning, because if you want to go, it looks like each person has to respond. But Tira had an idea of a MSRAC field trip, which is at our next regularly scheduled meeting is Friday, December 13th. And in Hartford, they're having a discussion on changing market trends in Connecticut and their impacts on brownfield redevelopment. It's free to a friend, attend, and they serve you lunch, you get a free lunch. It's from 11 to 2:30. And I realize I'm just hitting you guys with it, so you have to check your schedules and think about it, but if, maybe you just give me some feedback over the next time, and if people want to go, we could possibly organize a carpool, so everybody doesn't have to drive to Hartford.
I do generally try to go to the ECD brownfield events, like I've been to the Mountain Newtown and Hartford and wherever. Some of the value is definitely, they set it up as networking things, so there is some value there. I spend some time every time going prevailing wage, right? Just sort of being a needle, a needle in the room. But it's good. I mean, it's all the people sort of working on these issues at the state level. So they don't necessarily hear from people on the ground. And they're free.
They see a lot of people from Thompson coming, maybe they'll keep those grant funds flowing in our direction. Very support. Yes. So like I said, just everybody think about it and let me know in a couple of weeks, and then I'll know whether to, basically cancel the regularly scheduled meeting here.
We don't necessarily have to cancel it because it would be after. You could.
Oh, yeah, that's true, but that would really be I beg your pardon?
Time does this start?
11.
11 to 2:30.
So you could convene if there was anything, and the only reason I would say you might not want to cancel is we might actually have something
That's true.
to review or
That's
talk
true.
about, depending on whether we've gotten our assistance agreement.
Right.
Do something very truncated and then trundle off to our.
That's true. We could do both. Okay, so I guess why don't we talk about Swanson Veterans Park? If we got any cost estimates in for landscape architecture?
We did not, we did send, Chris,
Yes, yes.
do you know, I know that I sent over, information to Yu Yang for your landscape architects to work up, some rough estimates for the Swanson Park work. Do you know if he received it or if it's been given to your LAs?
That was the area up by the beginning of the Riverside Drive project, right?
Correct.
Am I correct?
Right, across
So
from the
yes,
restaurant.
so we definitely received them because I know I saw them and I asked him about them because I was like, what? I don't know anything about this. But yes, so our LAs do have that. I'm not sure what sort of progress they've made with it. But I know we've received it and then it's been passed along to them.
Okay. If you could make a note to yourself just to follow up and see, and if they've got questions, obviously all they need to do is email and ask. I was out last week, but we're here now.
Yeah, of course, I can do that.
That's basically, I'm just stalling till 9:30. And maybe Sine is coming in. I didn't want to discuss alternates necessarily. Does anybody have any other new committee business?
I will say that I did check, I checked a couple of things, ahead of this meeting. The parcel at 630 has been added to the advanced CT certified sites site. They have a very nice, of course, they've got the page for the certified sites, and then each of the sites you can open up and it gives you information. How much we get out of that, I don't know. I have not had another conversation back with Eversource since that last one about potentially looking at a pilot for geothermal there. I don't think anybody's in a hurry on that piece anyway, especially with nobody knocking the doors down to buy the parcel. I get inquiries on the parcel all the time and it's always the same. I send them to talk to Wayne. Sometimes they have good ideas, sometimes they have bad ideas. And anybody's welcome to bring those ideas here. And if they're serious and they want to move forward, then we'll do what we can to assist. The Brownfield grant, we appear to be closer to getting the assistance agreement. I came back from vacation and there was communication between the attorneys, DECD's attorney and the developer's attorney, with me and Slater on CC. Pam is still trying to get that letter of determination from Department of Labor. Now, we have been discussing changing the structure of the grant from a pass-through where we take in the money and give it to the developer to do the work to being a direct grant to us. And the purpose of doing that would be to separate it, right? The cleanup from the vertical construction in terms of the prevailing wage requirement. Hunky-dory. So Pam's email back to me is that DOL doesn't seem likely to issue a letter of determination based on a hypothetical that we have to choose. So I emailed DECD's lawyer yesterday because they'd sent over a draft, which was still a pass-through. I said, well, how onerous is it to send us a draft which indicates a direct grant? And what their attorney told me is that they have to get that instruction from DECD directly, which means now I've got to go back to Benu. We have to decide as a group. Now, I believe where we left it was that we were all comfortable with going directly to a pass-through. And as long as that's the case, I will get on the horn with Benu and say, we are absolutely doing that. But I don't know that
You
we,
mean walking away from the past?
walking away from the past, yes,
Okay.
that's,
And making it.
I say it backwards
project.
every time, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So back to the original.
well, no, the original was the pass-through.
Oh, okay.
The original was always the pass-through, but the way that Pam on some of her other projects for Gumpert has found a workaround to separate the vertical construction is to separate the owners of the projects essentially. So the town is the owner then of the cleanup. Gumpert's still paying for it outside the grant. And then the developer is the owner of the vertical construction. We had a con call over a month ago now where we all discussed it, and my recollection of that call is that we were all comfortable with it.
Mhm.
So now but in my last call with Benu and Pam, it still seemed a little like maybe they were trying to hold up the possibility for the pass-through. But I think we just have to decide that it's gonna be a direct grant now. So as long as you're comfortable with that, I'm
Well, it's not that I'm comfortable with it, but what's the alternative?
waiting forever and ever and ever for this to resolve.
If it leads to the facilitation of that building finally getting started, then yeah, I think that's the simplest thing to do.
So I will 100% then email that to Benu, like, we are officially requesting that this be converted to a direct grant, and Randy Sabia needs you to give him permission to draft a new agreement.
So if we do this,
Mhm.
what are the hurdles remaining for him to start? For Gumpert to start? You know, shovel. in
It's the
ground?
same hurdle we have now, which is a completed assistance agreement. Right, in other words, confirmation from the state with signatures that the money is now available to be used
For the cleanup, you're
for the
talking.
cleanup,
Right, right.
right? Which, and he can't do the construction until
Until
the
the
cleanup's
cleanup's
done,
done, that's correct.
right?
So as far as, I'm just looking forward past this, are all other hurdles for Gumpert now been overcome in terms of getting started?
Until the
Once-
state puts another one in his way.
Okay, so as it stands
As
now,
far as I
Yeah.
am aware,
Right.
that the only substantive hurdles we are facing are the assistance agreement and the letter of determination from the Department of Labor regarding the applicability of prevailing wages. But we can't clear either one of them until we've established that it's going to be either a direct grant
Right.
or a pass-through.
right,
So, and we're going with direct grant unless somebody tells me between now and the end of the meeting not to do it.
yes, just this morning, someone was asking me, where's all this stand?
Yeah. It stands. It just stands. That's it.
Yeah,
That's what I got.
the glacial pace at which the
Oh,
state
yeah.
moves is just so frustrating.
Well, let's face it, that prevailing wage issue really threw a wrench into all.
And not just to
Yeah.
us, to everybody with one of these projects. In fact, we accidentally got a line item bill in our legal fees because Ken and Pam are working together on so many different projects. One of theirs accidentally got included on our legal fees. So,
Thanks for that update, and I think if nobody has anything else, we can probably start talking about the alternates for the reconfigurations of Main Street. I don't know how much you guys in the Zoom room can like tell who's here or anything like that, but we do have.
well, I don't have a camera on, so.
Oh, okay, so anyhow, we have in the room 5 members of MSRAC, Jamie Snee, the fire marshal, Amy St. Ange, first selectman, and Joe Tasek, public works director. So, and I also see we have Freeman Christus on to go over the alternates. We have alternates for Main Street being converted to a one-way traffic pattern to the north. They have, I think, two alternate configurations of the intersection with that, and then 3 alternates for Main Street remaining two-way that affect basically the northern intersection with the island at Route 12, and a lot of this all came about because of like the whole traffic calming concern, because when people are heading south on Route 12 and they enter Main Street, they're just flying into that neighborhood, and so, it was a kind of a goal to help try to alleviate that, so people were brainstorming ideas.
So just tell me what you want me to open first.
Well, I'll leave that up to Chris. What would you like to go over first?
I guess we might as well do the two-way options first, even though they're gonna be numbered kind of backwards, but that's all right, just because it's two-way existing, so we might as well start there probably. Yep.
Yeah, I just need to figure out how to enlarge this from this view. Maybe if I do this. Give me a second, guys. I'm gonna see if I can open this in a way that gives me more options.
Mhm.
All right. All right, so I think this is existing configuration, right, Chris?
So yeah, this beginning portion is pretty much existing configuration. The main changes are at the intersection to the northern side. So this is kind of just included. We put it in to show like this will be the beginning section of all three of the concepts that we're going to show, as well as we have the typical section kind of at the bottom here, just showing like the lane widths and shoulder widths, and then the sidewalk on the side. So that's all on this one really.
You, whatever, I guess, zoom out a little bit to show the typical cross section, so Joe can see it. It's on this plan, right? Maybe it was.
Yeah, the cross sections that
This one.
bottom corner.
Here it is.
Just tell me where you want to go. I'm following your lead, Chris.
Oh, it sounded like someone was asking about the cross section.
Yeah.
The cross section is that bottom right corner there, where it says like the travel lanes and stuff. I couldn't hear the question though. I'm not sure.
If it's two-way, there's no changes to the cross section regarding the road width or the width of the sidewalk, correct?
Correct. Yeah, at that point, we'd basically be maintaining, we would be replacing in place essentially. So if we go to the second sheet, we can start talking about the different options themselves.
So this is the third sheet. You want the second sheet.
Okay, so mine might be frozen. I'm still looking at that first sheet.
Okay,
this is good.
Here in the room, we are on the second sheet.
Okay, so I can pull up the, excuse me, I'm sorry. I can pull up the second sheet on my computer and just talk through it. I don't have to see it on yours necessarily.
I was gonna say, why don't you let Chris share his screen?
Oh, yeah, I can do that too.
And way
That
you
might
can
be
navigate.
easier.
Yeah,
I just
Would
need
that
to,
work, Chris? Now that I've
I
suggested.
can certainly try. We usually use Teams and not Zoom, so I'm not super familiar.
it's super easy. I actually think it's easier than Teams.
Okay.
So you have, you should see an icon on the bottom of your Zoom screen that says share screen in green.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Access to do it.
I just did.
Okay, sorry.
Then you
And
can
then-
just double click to select whatever screen you're on.
Okay. All right. So I think.
There you go. And now it'll follow wherever you are on your desktop.
All right. So everyone can see this then.
Yep.
Wonderful. Okay, so basically this is our first of our three two-way concepts. So like you said, the majority of Main Street's going to stay the same, the road width, we're adding sidewalk, all that. But our first concept here is adding a speed hump and the appropriate signage and pavement markings. basically encouraging, people to really slow down before they get to Floral Ave here. I'm not sure if it's just a whole street that's a speeding issue or if it's issues with people trying to get in and out of Floral Ave here. But we figured by putting it by the island here, it's, obviously it's not really going to impact the people coming to the stop bar here, but it'll slow down the people who are coming towards this intersection point.
Well, the specific people who members of the public who raised the speed issue to me were residents of the 55 and over apartment building. Just
Is that this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm sure the same issues would be
Right.
there for anybody in that part of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Zooming out just a touch because the intersection is actually being obscured by our.
Well, I can move this too.
things.
Can that not,
Can't
can that
that-
go
can't that-
away?
You can,
Yeah, can't you-
turn it into one little, you should be able to turn it into one little
With-
bar, even smaller than that, even if you wanted to.
Okay, thanks.
Just let me know if you need me more in or out.
I think we're all right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is realistically, there's nothing stopping us from moving the speed hump to the south of Floral Ave, closer to that apartment building over here. That would also be a choice if that's something that you guys wanted to pursue, as opposed to having it like over right by the intersection. It's just a matter of they're still potentially going to be going fairly quickly through this area until they get past Floral Ave.
Yeah, speed bump could cause accidents if they're going too fast. when
I'm
they
thinking
hit.
that, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So-
also wondering if, because it's coming off a state road, if DOT would therefore have to say yes or no to this. And my feeling is that DOT would also not be crazy about that.
Also, winter
Solution.
cleanup with speed bumps is horrendous.
And this is more of a hump where you don't have to, I'm assuming, Chris, this is Amy St. Ange, that it's more of a hump where you don't have to slow down too much. You can go up, because I know we have them in a school community down south near where we travel, and you can go like 25 miles per hour over the speed hump and it doesn't affect you. I'm assuming
Yeah,
it's
so-
more about that graduated slight hump.
Yes, so these are 12-foot wide speed humps. The bumps are typically used in like parking lots. Those are the more really just steep up and over, kind of shorter, maybe like 1.5 to 2 feet. Those are speed bumps. Those are typically like parking lots and things. This is going to be a 12-foot speed hump, and it's just like you're saying, it's going to be a lot more gradual. We do have a sign here for 15 miles an hour. If you went over it at 25, you'd probably be fine. We actually have one on our street in Hartford that's very, very similar to this. And I drive over it probably at about 25 miles an hour without issue. So it's not like that really hard, bump that most people picture when they hear it, because a lot of people interchange speed bump and speed hump as like the same item, but it's not.
Can you combine a speed hump with a crosswalk to make it even more visually impactful?
They do
Um,
raised crosswalks.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Okay. We can certainly look into that. If we were going to do something like that, the main issue is we don't really have any sidewalk on I believe it's the east side of the street there. So we'd kind of be crossing them into nothing right now unless we were to do something
Right.
to add additional sidewalk.
And just so everybody in the room knows that we asked them to look at alternates that keep the island and alternates that don't keep the island. So this is one that keeps the island.
Yes.
Anybody have any more questions?
What about a stop sign, coming off Route 12 onto Main Street, a stop sign at Floral Ave? To make cars stop after they left Route 12?
So I don't, excuse me, I don't have the information on like the traffic and how many cars are typically, using, going from Riverside Drive onto Main Street. The issue with that would be it could potentially back up into Riverside Drive, and that would cause unsafe conditions.
Yeah.
But it's something that we could look into the traffic numbers. It's just, I can't necessarily see it being the best option, unfortunately.
It's possible that I have that information from a prior study done by CME, CHA, whichever they were at the time, 'Cause they
Okay.
actually studied this intersection and some others under the bar grant. So I presume that at least some of that traffic count information is available in those results. I'll see if I
Yeah,
can send it to you.
yeah, I was gonna say, if we get that information, we can absolutely look into it, as another option.
We're not going all the way to Buckley Hill Road intersection with this discussion, are we?
No,
No, okay.
no.
Thought not.
So,
The only thing about that too, that study was probably before the bakery closed, so whether that affects the,
It was before the bakery closed, yes. But there's
Okay,
gonna
so
be
those numbers
40
may be a little
apartments
inflated.
and so
True.
the traffic counts, I think, would end up balancing out over time. In fact, between the between the apartments at St. Joe's and the future apartments, as we know, at the
It
mill,
could be up,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we can always come back to this alternate. Does anybody want to see the next alternate? And could you please do the next alternate?
Next, absolutely. Okay, so this is fairly simple. This is not gonna be necessarily the most costly or, revolutionary change. But basically we would recommend one of those speed limit signs that has like the solar radar feedback.
We're not
So-
seeing your screen change
Yeah.
here this time.
Yeah, it says
Oh.
radar feedback sign.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to go to the next page. My bad.
Oh, yeah, so that's what I mean, is it's very similar to, kind of just what's out there right now. So there would be very minimal changes. It's really just this sign, where we'd kind of be putting the speed limit, and then we'd have one of those flashing, radar feedback signs, kind of trying to calm people as they come into the intersection here. It's not the flashiest option, but it's just something that we wanted to present, as a choice.
Along those lines, I'd like to comment that no one ever has or ever will go 15 miles an hour on Main Street, regardless of what the sign says. So maybe there's some wisdom in changing that to 20.
25.
Well, yeah, well, I didn't want to be extreme.
15 is
yeah.
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Well,
Registered as 15 because a lot of our roads
I
aren't
don't think Main Street's
registered with the
registered.
state for what the speed limits are.
No.
and
I was gonna say-
regardless of whatever we post there, the signs are not what dictate how fast
No,
people go.
that is
It's,
correct.
it's the design of the road.
That's correct. So while we're doing this, I think we should adjust that 15 to something more realistic.
I'm just not sure. I've never gone through the process of changing the speed on a road. But I can certainly bring that up with my manager. He probably has a little bit more knowledge and information on that sort of thing. I'm not sure what sort of process, if there's a process that you have to go through to do that, or if it's literally just changing the sign.
Yes, there is. We have to go through the state, and state engineers have to come and evaluate it, line of sight, the road condition, full 9 yards. And they tell us what they want it to be. Because a lot of it's done on line of sight, so many feet before a turn should be a certain a speed limit, which is tough in a town like this because there's no straight roads in this town, so we go broke buying speed limit signs for every corner.
Where did we get the data? Are there signs on Main Street that say 15 miles per hour?
Yes.
Oh, there are.
There are, that's why I used it,
Okay,
yeah.
well, I don't.
There is one right by the 55 and older, there's one right there on the right-hand side, then there's another one after School Street.
Yes.
I don't know over by the
See,
church.
near
I'm
St.
sure.
Joe's, maybe it should be 15 because it's a 90-degree.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
actually, it could be like on the church side. But once you get past Bridden Road, Red Bridge Road, it could be more feasible to bring that up to 25 miles an hour.
Right, that's how it seems.
I just know about a year ago, we were working with the state, Kelly and I were in conversation with the state, and there are literally only 3 roads that are actually registered with the state with speed limits, and they're the most obscure roads that you could ever
You mean
imagine.
here in town?
In town, which means every other street, if it's not registered with the state with a speed limit, is 55 miles per hour. That's according to the state of Connecticut DOT.
Oh, well, I
Or,
can do 55
or-
on Main Street.
or you drive, or you drive
People
conditions,
come
the way
close to it.
conditions require, so If you're
Right.
on a windy road, you should be driving slower.
That's
But-
why we don't pave any roads. We try to keep everybody slow.
In the potholes.
We got more, we put potholes in.
All right, we should move.
So yeah, if you can make a note of that to see if maybe the speed limit could be increased to 20 or 25, except at the 90-degree turn near St. Joseph.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly look into that. All right. So this is going to be our third and final option for the two-way traffic. Basically, this is our one option here with removing the existing island. Basically, the monuments and stuff would probably be relocated, we would assume, in this big patch of grass here that we're proposing. Because I'm sure you guys would want to keep that stuff. It's just, we wanted to kind of tee the intersection in here so that we could get traffic and line of sight going in both directions. This is a school bus that we wanted to show being able to make that turn in, so that if they have to go pick children up on Main Street, they could still make that turn. I'm not sure which direction your school bus would come from, honestly. But we figured the right-hand turn is usually the most extreme, so that's why we wanted to show that. And then this is the driveway. We'd have to extend the driveway out, so we kind of married this into the intersection as well, so that they could, still have access in and out of their driveway.
Would it be better to take that into the Main Street, the gray area, the dark gray on Main Street?
So our only concern with doing that is if we brought it kind of in over here somewhere, they might have a lot of trouble turning out onto Main Street. Again, I don't have traffic counts right now, but if that's something that I can look at, I can probably answer that question better.
What are you asking, Bernie, to angle the driveway so that?
Yeah. It just popped into my head is, keep them from having to enter Route 12, but there's plenty of drives, there's plenty of
They're going
driveways.
straight there now, they have to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's plenty of driveways that I'm.
Yeah, I have to say, I really like this
Yeah,
option
me
for
too.
lots and lots of reasons. It protects the driveway. It eliminates even the possibility of coming straight off at speed. You don't have to worry
Yep.
about speed bumps or signs. It's irrelevant. You have to slow into that turn.
Right.
So I want to bring up that Joe has an alternate idea in
Well,
addition to.
In addition to this.
In addition to
This
this.
idea right here to move the monument, I guess it was rumored that move the monument down to,
Swanson.
Well, that was,
Swanson
yeah,
Park.
so that was a part of the SIF grant before we started talking about this intersection, so that could still be possible, or with this option with an actual accessible island or shoulder, however you want to, you could leave it in situ and people in that neighborhood could actually have access to that monument
Yes,
Without being in the middle of the road.
without
They
being in the
come
middle.
right off the sidewalk.
and,
walk right
and
in.
if you could scroll to the exit of the church, which is actually Watson Street. Okay, I'm not church, I'm
The
sorry,
library.
library. Yep.
Oh,
Go down just a little bit.
Right
At the end of School Street, right at that intersection, School Street, Main Street, and the exit of the library, make that a four-way stop. There's already a stop at School Street, there's a stop obviously for the library. If we put in a stop sign on Main Street so that people wouldn't, not that everybody reads signs, but they wouldn't be able to gain the access speed and they would have to restart there to keep traffic slower.
Oh.
And that would also be pretty cheap to do, because all we'd be doing was putting in signs, lines in the road. And even like where the crosswalk is over there, we could put slow in the road with paint. That was just an idea to keep everything around the 55 and older community. They wouldn't gain speed by using this idea here, and they'd also, instead of getting past that point, just gunning it and going up the road, they'd have to go slow to stop for the stop sign, and then they'd take off again. We could keep this area at a different speed limit, and from School Street back to the Red Bridge Road, bring that up to 25.
From
Okay.
Street South.
From School Street south to 25.
Yeah.
Keep the speed limit in between the library at a minimum, you do 20, 15, whatever, because we don't want you going from 0 to 30 and then slamming on the brakes or a stop sign.
Can I
Good
just
thing I did.
clarify something? Is that Redbridge or Reardon that comes to Maine? Because they have it listed
Red-
as Reardon.
No, it's Redbridge.
That's what I thought.
That Redbridge,
So just he needs to know
Reardon,
that.
and even though the stop sign is for Redbridge, Redbridge comes all the way down. It varies on what map
Yeah.
you look at.
In this area, I think I have an idea that goes right along with Joe's idea. If this is a stop, if there's a stop there, probably the sidewalk, which is on the top of this sheet, which is the west, should be extended to School Street, and the crosswalk could be there, because anybody in that neighborhood who wants to come to the library and is coming down School Street, look, you can see there's a gap. There's no
There's nothing,
sidewalk.
there's no
no
sidewalk to School
sidewalk.
Street.
That short distance from like 3450 to 36, on the top of the sheet.
Yeah, yeah.
That sidewalk was extended to School Street, and there was a stop sign there, and there could be a
So-
crosswalk.
The reason we didn't do that originally is because this house right here, they
Yes.
really, if we did that, they'd have nowhere to park really.
Right.
Because we'd have to make it at least a minimum of like 4 feet to like maintain ADA compliance through here. And it would potentially just create hazards of them trying to back out. That's why actually we wanted to make sure we moved this crosswalk here away from like their driveway area, because we really don't want people walking like right there where someone could be possibly backing up. That's the only reason we did it the way we did. It's certainly something we can look into to see. I mean, it looks like they have a little bit of parking on the side of their house there, but I'm sure that would probably have to be a discussion
No,
with that.
they
homeowner
really
there.
don't, because the town property comes right down. Those trees that you can see just to the
Yeah.
right in here, that is town property right there.
Okay,
So they do not have much space alongside the old Phelps house there.
yeah, so I'm not sure we could necessarily extend the sidewalk too much further on that side of the road. Without
Not
a
end it-
serious redesign.
You could end it there and then start it at that, after their property, going around the corner for School Street, so even the people that come down would have someplace to walk.
That is an option. That would be probably more feasible than going straight to School Street.
Yeah.
We can certainly look into that as well.
Janet, are there any design implications for Neil's new building on the corner of School Street that would affect this project at all?
Well, all his work is inside his own property,
Okay.
not in the town.
Is that right here?
Yeah, that's where your cursor is.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, the property where your hand is was approved for, it's just one structure, but I think it's gonna be 6 units, 6.
Okay.
I guess I was thinking, where's the driveway access?
On
Is
The
it
driveway
Street or
is
Main
on
Street?
School
Is
Street.
on
Oh,
School
it's on
Street.
stairs, yeah.
So what
Okay.
does everybody think about that? The intersection at getting rid of the island and making it more.
I
of a
think
T
that's the
intersection.
smartest idea, because the reason why everybody's so fast, because nobody touches the brake, they go straight.
Yeah.
That's where the road used to go 100 years ago, and they just went straight through it. That's the best idea.
I think with the,
Just to decide what to do with the monument and how to go about it.
I think if you move the monument up in the corner, you have more buy-in for the people in town, because that's kind of like that's been there for.
Yeah, it's a
forever.
staple. You don't wanna go
Exactly, so-
picking something up and moving it to the other side of town when it never was there before.
Exactly.
It's been there.
And if the veterans can get to it now by walking down a sidewalk as opposed to trying to get killed across on the road, I think that's the best option.
Right, I think that's great, because the reason we were talking about moving it before, we weren't talking about this intersection being reconfigured at all, and as it exists now, it's just a rock in space, right? So we were talking, well, move it down to Swanson Park with all of the other monuments. It's several thousands of dollars to move that giant piece of rock. I mean, it's gonna have to be moved anyway, but it certainly moves less far. If instead of being in the middle of Route 12, essentially, it's just coming to in front of one of these homes.
One other question was, where that crosswalk is, I know if you put a stop sign like you want, you're gonna have the people that are still gonna go right through it. What if you did the raised sidewalk on raised crosswalk? in that
Over in
location?
there.
So people, if they're coming through the intersection, they still have to stay slow until they go over that crosswalk.
The only reason why I'm not big on that, because I think of,
Snow.
Snowplow.
in equipment
Yeah.
and things like that. And you also gotta take into consideration for a young kid in mind, that's pretty fun to go fast over those.
Yeah, you're
things,
You'll end up in the library.
That's right,
too.
the weekend dirt bike riders up and down Route 12, I'm
Oh,
sure they would
yes.
love that. So, I'm sorry if I missed anything, where are we talking about that crosswalk being located right now? Where it is, moving it south?
Which one? This one?
Yes,
So this, we just moved a little bit to the north, right here.
on the
Oh, you
plan,
mean-
yes.
Yep.
Yes. Or the other one they were talking about is potentially having a crosswalk over here to School Street.
Okay, so I don't know, did we talk about this and I missed it? Why wouldn't we locate it right at 35 there, where it would actually connect to a
Because
walkway?
Because of the.
There's gonna be a
people
gap.
parking. I thought it was because of people parking at that house.
Well, that would
Yes.
be here, but there's
Yeah.
sidewalk right there at
And
35.
actually, if you did put it in the intersection, you can incorporate the stop signs and the crosswalk,
Right.
basically, all at the same time, instead of having yield signs for a crosswalk, yield signs for a crosswalk, it would be incorporated into the intersection with the stop signs for a pedestrian crossway.
So where the 34 plus is,
Where the
Yeah,
35
and go right at the intersection, right
Right
there,
at the
right where he is with
intersection,
the cursor,
Yep.
correct.
So our only thing is, from our standpoint, is kind of to what extent, because it does not look like there's an existing sidewalk on School Street as it is. So we can certainly put a crosswalk and we can put a handicap ramp, but, you know, as part of our original scope going, up School Street with a sidewalk, it wasn't necessarily part of it, and we're not sure, to where. That would be our only kind of engineering standpoint is not sure where it's going. But I understand where you're coming from with giving access across from School Street and having the crosswalk and the stop sign is like more additional traffic calming. Certainly hear you coming from there, though.
The reason I would advocate for keeping the crosswalk where they have it currently, so that was further up, is because I'm going to guess, I could be wrong, but I'm gonna guess that lots of people that live at Carriage Square walk and go to the library.
Hmm.
Right.
And that would give them sidewalk access entirely and a crosswalk that would make it safe for them, relatively safe for them to cross.
Right.
Everything is relative.
Yeah.
I think, I guess you understand, you're gonna look at that intersection for options, Chris?
Yes, we could absolutely look at options at this intersection as well. Yeah.
I know I lived in that neighborhood for 30 years, and I know the amount of people that walk down School Street all the time.
Really?
And- Oh, yeah,
Okay.
always coming down and you go straight across all
So
the time.
second one, maybe
Straight
just a
across.
second crosswalk.
Okay. Yeah.
I read it this morning, exactly that.
So,
So I just want to make a comment. I like this one too,
Yeah.
the best. I would consider bringing the driveway in at 90 degrees instead of back down to the intersection, Chris.
Which driveway are we talking about?
On
At
Route
the-
12,
At the intersection.
Route 12.
at the monument,
At the monument. So kind of bending that driveway so it tees into the intersection, much like the.
Oh, instead of to the right, like I was saying, to the left, bend it to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yep,
Down.
yep.
So Main Street comes into the curve at a 90 degree, but the driveway comes in at this obtuse angle, maybe bend that, so it also comes in. To give that island a little more space. And the other comment is that rock is big, so it's gonna have to be located
I was
with
thinking,
sight of line.
I was
or line
thinking
of
the same
sight.
thing too, coming,
whole thing too with the driveway will be line of sight,
yeah.
whatever the state says. with
Well,
line of sight.
except, once these islands are created, I think the only thing you absolutely can't do is have the monument at the narrowest point closest to
Oh,
well,
no,
right?
you-
Anything further back
Yeah,
from
yeah.
that is no longer a sightline for traffic of any kind, really, because you can no longer drive straight down south or straight up north.
but you still need to be, Steve's right, though, if you're sitting at the stop sign and you didn't wanna see to the left, you
Yeah.
You'll
so
be
you would-
fine.
You would have to have it above that line, which is where the 42, 43s are, right? Somewhere
Yeah.
from the line
Yeah.
or to the west.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere up here. So typically your line of sight starts about 15 feet back from the curb line. So I mean, if you're 15 feet back from here, your line of sight is probably somewhere in this general area. As long as you're not at the tip right here, you know, if you really did move it, like I believe Tira was saying, kind of towards where our alignment is, somewhere more in the middle, that shouldn't pose any issues line of sight wise for anybody.
And I think it is a good idea if it stays there, because it separates it from the Swanson Park project, so if we don't have enough money to do Swanson Park, this is at least taken care of.
It's completed, yeah, the project is completed.
But I think Steve's idea of bending that driveway, curving it down to the left, is a good idea, bringing it, intersecting, Route 12 at more at 90 degrees than it does now, I think is a good idea.
Sure, we can certainly take a look at that as well.
Is there enough room to make that curve? I mean, you know, it doesn't need to be for tractor trailers, but that's not a lot of space to make about what, a 30-degree bend?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely passenger vehicles could make it. I believe we checked a single unit truck, but I would have to double check that. I'm not sure if we checked that turn for that as well, but yeah, I mean, changing the angle of that is not a major lift. We could certainly look into that. The only other thing that I was told to bring up, because Yu Young, my manager, was fairly confident that everyone was going to like the intersection redesign better. This was not necessarily part of our original contract, so he did want me to just warn that it would probably be an ASA. But I think that's a whole funding thing. I'm not sure. That's above my pay grade.
I think we can work with that.
Okay. I was just told to inform you that he didn't want it to be a surprise or anything. So not to drop that on you. Okay, and then we have a couple one-way
Can I just-
options.
With that driveway, we just have to
Yep.
make sure the fire apparatus can get back there to the house, because that house had burned previously before, we had to access that driveway on the side of the building that you're at, yeah, right there, to get to the back. That driveway with the fire trucks into the back, because there's the two buildings back there. So
Yep.
that driveway entrance would have to be big enough for a fire truck to make that.
To make the turn,
not to
get
now
the
that there's a turn. and-
Yeah. As well as
So
the-
which direction, I mean, I don't know if this is a black and white answer, but which direction would you expect a fire truck to be coming from? Do you know?
Most possibly from the south.
From like
Yeah.
coming down Main or Route 12 probably?
No, Route 12.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Route 12.
okay.
Route 12 heading north.
Okay, so as long as you can make
So a
a fire
left
truck.
turn.
Yep, all right.
Unless-
Okay.
Yeah, that directly impacts what Steve and I are talking about, curving that driveway. Because the more, but the harder the turn becomes for the fire truck.
That's why I was curious which direction it was gonna come from, so, okay. I will certainly keep that in mind as well when we look at that.
So they can
Thank
change
you.
the angle, but just make the driveway a little bit wider.
That's
Yeah.
what, yeah, that would probably be the most likely, just kind of widening this this radius here, maybe a little bit. Okay,
So,
not sure if anyone else had any follow-up questions or comments on the two-way options?
Well, other monuments on that same island and a flagpole too.
That's
Yeah.
true.
yeah,
Although I think those other two monuments are minimal efforts to move,
Yeah.
and I would assume that they would all sort of go as a unit. They
But
were
if
all.
they did it, it'd be easy enough to move the small ones to Swanson Park,
Yeah.
if that was the only thing preventing us from doing this, if this is what we want to do.
Mhm.
I think there's plenty of room up there to take everything and leave it the way it is, just relocate it over a little bit.
Yeah, I have to assume that this reconfigured island is larger than what. currently exists.
Yeah, obviously, it's gonna be a little bit bigger. And I know that there's some granite around on certain parts. I don't even know if it's all there around the monument, but we do have some granite at the highway garage, so if there's anything missing when we're rebuilding it, we have some old stuff from Main Street. I don't really know where it came from, but we can make it so the granite goes all the way around like it did at one point in time.
Cool.
So these were three options for maintaining two-way, since they did some one-way options. Should we just look at those? We can always come back to the two-way.
All right, so. Oh,
I think my comment last meeting on going to one way was based on traffic calming and slowing traffic. And if this does it and there's no clear advantages to one way, then I think that's probably the plan.
I think the only genuine advantage to one way is eliminating the right-hand turn from Red Bridge Reardon onto Main,
Right.
Onto
which is,
Main Street.
which is a crappy turn.
Right.
And there's nothing that can be done
No,
about
right.
repairing that with the angle. We battled that one for years and years and years.
The downfall is no fire trucks can take a left-hand turn up Red Bridge Road from coming up.
From coming up, yeah, you can't come from the
You
church.
can't turn a fire truck up that
No.
road, coming that one way.
So
They
you
have to, when they leave the firehouse here, they have to go that way, down
Up
Main Street and then.
up
the hill.
Red Bridge.
Cause you're talking trucks of 40-50 feet long, they're
Right.
not.
Yeah.
Are there other places in town where that sort of situation exists?
No, I think
Okay.
this is the only,
Yep.
the only place in town that they can't access.
And that's what we said, we have to check the
I don't-
public safety, because that's
Yeah.
such a legitimate.
So if that's the case, I think we can just eliminate the one-way option.
I can agree, because if
Yep.
this one works, why?
Why?
Upset
Make things work,
residents.
yeah.
We are the residents, there was a
Exactly.
lot of people, I was concerned up at Floral Avenue, there's like 20 houses, there's another 20
Yep.
people in the elderly. That would be like 40 people, they have to drive a mile around if it was one way. And they said they'll never do that, they'll cut through the library. So there's always gonna be,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
would have been the traffic pattern for those 40,
And
those
it's
last
not just
40.
being a mile away, it's changing somebody's routine. And they will make do with what they feel like they want to do, so.
So I think I hear a general consensus that everybody likes the last option with the extended intersection islands
Yeah.
on the two-way, and maybe with some
Hmm.
other options shown for crosswalk
Your
location
driveway then.
and the one driveway.
And the
Okay.
at that school street intersection.
And so crosswalks and stop
Yeah.
signs at School Street.
And I think we should get in touch with the state on repair of the wall at the library. Because that is there,
It's theirs.
but it's so far down their list
Mhm.
that they don't really care, but since this project is gonna be taking place, there is gonna be construction. We should have them come and inspect it and cough up some money.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Hey, Chris, so the other thing that I sent along, which maybe could be shown in as an alternate in, any final estimates here, is the pervious pavers stuff that ECCD was gonna do under a grant that ended up not happening. And I had sent over all the engineering for that. Now, ECCD may actually reapply for that, in the 319 NPS grants, but if they don't or don't get it, it seems to me that it would be a good opportunity to add that into this project, and I don't think we have that. Yu Yang didn't include that in any estimates back to me yet.
No, that's not something we've currently included. However, if that's as we go forward, if that's something that we want to include in the project, we can certainly incorporate it.
Certainly to show it as an alternate.
Impervious pavers, are you
So-
talking the library?
Is it,
Yeah.
I think it's right near that catch basin, right? Is it right below 36 plus 50?
So this right here, we're just calling out as turf right now.
No, I mean, on the
Establishing one.
library property, I believe is what you're
It's
talking
at like,
about.
it's north of 37, I think. Yeah, it's where it says approximate right of way.
Okay, that's where
It's
it is,
in
okay.
there, and the reason they weren't able to get it done is because they couldn't mesh the timeframes with pulling out the underground storage tank. So that project is now done, so there's no obstacles to that getting done now.
So do they own the pervious pavers? Did they buy them or no?
No, they didn't, they just have all of the, they just have all of the cost outs and the designs, because we couldn't make everything coordinate before they ran out. before they're,
Did they purchase all those pavers and everything?
I don't think so.
Why, did they look into putting down the pavement and have them come burn it in? Don't know.
I don't know. I mean, the whole point of it was that it
I
was,
go by there the other day and for being an access point for Meals on Wheels, the oil truck, plowing, whatever, and it not being, I'm not saying do the whole thing around the building, but the back of the building, the access, just like our crosswalks, if it came in and you put hardtop down and then they put the dust down and they burn that in there, it will look like pavers.
Right,
And
so-
it will be easily repairable if something bad happens instead of calling somebody to come do blocks.
yeah, I mean, the point of the pervious pavers from ECCD's perspective was that it was an LID measure.
You're talking LID, ICCD, USB,
I give it to you. I give it to you, Sybil.
It would be changing an impervious area to a pervious area.
Okay, okay,
So the
no,
town
makes
would
sense,
be
makes sense.
credit
For
For
MS4.
disconnecting
Yes,
impervious area heading to an outfall to the French River.
so if we take Main Street and we do it all with blocks like that. we get.
Put it down to sand.
So anyway, Chris, if you could just show, in whatever follow-up document with, whatever the cost for the design of the new intersection, also incorporating ECCD's existing plan for the pervious pavers as an alternate, I would appreciate that.
Sure. We can certainly do that.
However, I will say, in spite of being a fan of pervious pavers, the whole concept of it, it's really just a token. That little area, you know.
So it does definitely seems like there's a consensus, is that true of the committee and the Public Works and the Selectmen's office and the Fire Marshal's office, that everybody agrees that this alternate, I think it's actually alternate 5.
Yes.
One to go, right? Okay.
Yep.
So I know we had talked about having a public information meeting, since there's so much consensus, do we still think that's that? Okay,
I
so
think
we'll
we
do
absolutely
that.
have to.
Yeah, I think you're right, because of all, get it
You wanna
out
frame
there,
that for
get it out
sometime
there,
in
it's a big
December?
change.
Actually, it's not that huge a change with this plan.
I think people are gonna
But people-
embrace it, unlike
yes.
Lane Road.
Right.
Right,
Which they're fine with now.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
But this one, I think they're gonna really see the value in it,
Okay,
I think. but
I
could
think
be
so
wrong.
too, but I will guarantee you, if we do not schedule one,
Right.
what we will get
No, I
will be
agree.
the people saying that we did
Okay.
things in secret, right, and even
I
though
don't know,
what we've
I-
asked people to.
She and I have had the
respond
conversation a couple times about this, and it gets back to when we were talking about the ordinance review committee,
Right.
some of these things that we do for transparency or awareness just shoots the project down. And it's, I don't know, there's a fine line between that and what you just said. It's like, do we need it? Do we need it? I mean, awareness, I get it, people who live in the area for sure. But like you said, it's changing routine, it's changing, and you're gonna,
Yeah.
Well, some
you're
of
gonna
that-
have pushback.
Some of that
Oh,
is in
matter
our
what.
phrasing, some of that is in our phrasing, and the phrasing is, this project is happening. This is what we are proposing. Essentially, most of this is gonna be not subject to, but maybe there will, because we did get some feedback when we did the online public information meeting about where we could add lighting and, right, so some of that is definitely in the phrasing. If this is not, the public is gonna get the opportunity to vote it up or
That's the
down.
problem, they think they are when you do it in a certain way, maybe it is in the phrasing. It's just like you said, a lot of times the P and Z public hearings, it's too late. You're having this public hearing, they don't have any, really, they can make an input, but it's not changing anything. So it's setting them up for disappointment if.
Yeah, so
But-
first of all, it's not a public hearing, it's a public information meeting
Yeah,
about a
that's
project
what I was just
that
gonna
is
say.
going to happen.
Public info.
And we do want to
Just
hear the
making you
public's
aware.
input, but
And
it
we've
is mostly
received-
for awareness.
And we've
Yes.
received funds, so it's not going to come from direct immediate
This is-
Thompson tax money.
Right, and that is another thing, because every time we do anything, it's, oh, coming out of my taxes, oh.
Mhm.
Millions of dollars are being handed back to us from our taxes by the state.
I think the majority of people that will show up for the public information media meeting will be living in the area, will be
Yes.
Carrot Square people. They're gonna wanna know, okay, what are you gonna do?
So how can we involve those people and make them feel like they have input, even though our decision has been made? One way it might go back to lighting. Let's.
Lighting is one, but the other thing we can say honestly is that the fact that we're talking about this intersection at all
Is to help
is
you.
because residents at Carrot
Complaint.
Square approached me in my office and said, oh, when you're redesigning Main Street, can you do something about the speed?
Yeah.
That is a direct response to a public concern. This is what it is.
And that's the way you have to approach it.
Yeah.
Yes.
This was the design we originally had. And because of concern for traffic speed, we spent more money with the engineers and we created this design.
And I
The
will tell you-
collaboration.
And I will tell you where we do have some room for public input is what we do with the monuments.
Mhm.
How we handle the monuments.
Right.
Do we want to keep them here? Do we want to move them to Swanson Park?
So give them something to vote.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that they feel like they've contributed.
Are they including, back to the lighting, are they including that in this study?
I don't know. What does this look like for a lighting profile, Chris?
I do not believe we have done anything to change any lighting on this. It's wherever existing lighting is, we're basically maintaining it.
I mean, I personally, I know we want a beautiful neighborhood feel, but those if you're thinking like globes, like down
No,
at
yeah.
Riverside Park, they're impossible. You're constantly replacing them.
Right.
It's an expense that I don't know that we want to. I just don't think it makes
Yeah,
sense.
no, I was thinking more in terms of the way we looked at lighting on Route 12 with the new sidewalk.
Well, that, yeah.
Actual safety lighting.
Exactly.
Almost like we walked through.
Yeah, we did. I mean,
We
I
did,
don't
we
know
walked through 12.
what's the lighting there? I go on
Right, I
at
know.
night all the time, but what is it?
Well, it's
Is it just on?
streetlight.
I think there's a
utilities?
street light
Yeah.
at the intersection.
But just like we did the.
Where
walk
is it?
on
There's
Riverside,
definitely some-
And we picked where there might be
Yeah.
some lights, then we could do that again.
Yeah.
And that was with the Eversource, so,
Right.
it wasn't the contractor.
Right. Yeah.
That's right, using
Well, yes,
existing.
And then we
lighting.
voted, the Board of Selectmen voted to add some lights.
Right.
Because that was gonna increase the electric cost. That makes sense.
Right.
That
But-
makes
but-
sense if we need it. We might
Right.
not need it.
But we can certainly at a public information meeting say, hey, are there dark areas that you know of because you live there?
Right. Excellent,
Good
yeah.
point, good
Make
point.
note of that. We don't wanna forget that. That'll be good.
Well, this has been a great discussion. While everybody's here, does anybody have any other questions or comments? Well, thanks a lot, Chris.
Yeah, thank you guys. Actually, the one thing I would ask is if we are looking to pursue a crosswalk over here by School Street, if one of you guys want to just kind of give me some sort of a limit here, like are we just doing and it doesn't have to be right this second. You can send me an email later if you know, whatever. But if they just want like the crosswalk and like a handicap ramp, or if you actually want some sidewalk on this side of School Street, and if so, to
I
kind of
think
what extent?
Depending on where they put the 6-family home, maybe the sidewalk should go up to say like the H in school or, but I don't know what that's gonna look like.
I think generally,
wanna-
we're
I
not
would-
really talking about going up School Street.
Right. Right.
Well,
I would
who was it, Renee? who
Where
com-
would you stop? It would be.
Yeah, well, that's the problem,
But
that
if you
you could bring it all the way through, so
Well,
if you just put a handicap pad and
Right.
access in that area,
We think that.
But
that would be the cheapest.
But Renee's comment on the sidewalk, it was you, I think, your comment on the sidewalk across from Carrot Square. They're the people using that a lot,
Senior
keeping
lunches.
that. Yeah, so I'd say if we're gonna do one up at School Street, do both.
Right.
And if that's the case, like I said, that's not an issue for us to show and think about. It's just a matter of to what extent. Because once you put a handicap ramp and a crosswalk, there has to be a receiving handicap ramp. And then is that receiving handicap ramp just going to terminate in like the lawn area here? So that's kind of what I'm, from an engineering standpoint, like what we're thinking about as well by even if we're going to add this in conjunction with the other one, it kind of has to, usually you want to have it go to somewhere, not just like terminate in grass.
Right, so is a corner pad a common thing without a sidewalk going off in either direction? Is that commonly done?
We have one near.
Not typically.
Near Market Street, Chris, on the last project, the Riverside sidewalk project,
We did.
we did one there.
So that's why I was gonna say not typically, but I do know that specifically we have done it and in Thompson. So it's not something, that's why if we wanted to do it here, we could.
The state.
We are unique.
Right.
The state does it all the
They do.
time. The state does it all the time. Look at what,
Because we have to.
yeah, look at West Thompson Road and Route 193 and Riverside Drive. There's no sidewalks anywhere, but there's four little.
Oh, that's right, that's
four
right.
little ramps.
It's a weird catch-22 where once you have one, then you have to have the crosswalk in the other one. But like technically you don't have to have anything behind it. It's just you're terminating in the middle of nowhere. But it is doable technically.
And the purpose of adding this one is to slow the traffic even more? As part of that,
So
what's the purpose?
Of the.
People walking down school.
it sounded like, people coming down
Yeah.
School Street is what it sounded like, as well as additional calming, traffic
There's a lot
calming.
of houses up there,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
that neighborhood
Oh,
that's
yeah.
gonna come. like
Yeah, and
James said,
there's
people
no way
walk
we're
down
gonna
the road.
retrofit that neighborhood with sidewalks.
No,
So,
no.
there's not gonna be a perfect solution here, but I do think that it is wise to have, to Bernie's point, both crosswalks for different populations using
Sure.
using the area.
Yeah, that we can absolutely do that. So it sounds like we're gonna kind of think about probably just having a ramp here though, and not necessarily extending sidewalk beyond that.
I
Yes.
think so. That's
Okay.
correct.
Sounds good. Just wanted to confirm.
Maybe one other thing too, is in front, there's south on Main Street, there's a little isolated sidewalk. on, east side, or the west side,
Because.
By the bakery.
Down by 65 Main, across the street, there's sidewalk.
So
abandoning that,
I don't-
or linking it, or?
it'll be.
In front of the old,
Can you hear Steve, Chris?
There's someone talking, but I can't quite make out what they're saying. I'm sorry.
We
Go
wanna
to-
look south on Main Street a little bit to in front of the bakery.
Okay, you might have to direct me.
So I think it would be on the second sheet here. Maybe.
Is this bakery here?
That is the bakery.
Okay.
Oh, that's the sidewalk.
So there's
The
sidewalks.
sidewalk on the other side, what are we doing with that?
Is there,
The sidewalk,
Excuse me?
where it's green, I think.
Yes, there is a sidewalk in front of, all where those trees are and in front of that house.
Yes.
So this,
It
We're
ends right
replacing-
there. Right at the upper part of the bakery driveway, to your right,
The house.
green edge,
used to be the
right there.
office For the bakery.
yeah.
or you could say ends, begins, whichever.
You know, the
So,
wall.
Right now, we're proposing actually to get rid of the sidewalk on that side because again, it doesn't actually service anywhere. It's kind of just a stretch of sidewalk that doesn't do anything. So we're actually proposing to remove that and replace it with grass. And so we're having the sidewalk on the east side, I guess, all through this section, basically until you get to the library. But we didn't, I mean, unless someone knows of a reason that this sidewalk exists, it kind of
Well,
seemed
I think it's
like
those
it was
who
just.
own the property.
Who owned the property, they wanted the sidewalk in front of their house, and we have to go and we kind of we have to maintain it, obviously. But also cleaning up all the leaves and everything else in the springtime before the parade.
So here's something that's just occurred to me, looking at this. So there's the storage facility in the house, which I believe is currently being rented as a house. But then we do actually have our future project there at 65 Main, which has limited parking. Can we actually just make that striped pavement for parking?
So,
This area?
Not wide enough? Okay,
yeah, it could be.
Forget it,
There's a stone wall.
There's a wall in front of that, a cement wall.
you are
right in
correct.
front
There
of
is
it.
a
Yeah,
wall.
there's a wall. This is also a
It's actually
utility
a
pole.
stairway that goes up to the house,
Yep.
to the front door.
Yeah, no worries then. Forget I said it.
I thought it would have been nice to link that to the sidewalk down farther. It's doable on that side of the road. Going the other way, there's some grade issues. You'd never be able to do it. It'd be too expensive, but it would be nice to have sidewalk on both sides as far as we can.
So headed north from here, you mean?
Yeah, across the bakery and.
But that wasn't in the estimated cost.
No.
And that's a huge
Mm.
additional amount of,
I
cost,
wasn't
well,
su-
a
I
lot
wasn't
more
sure if we
sidewalk,
could do
yeah.
that.
I mean, I agree with you, Steve. I was thinking it'd be nice as well, but
I see more cars parked on the sidewalk than anything else going down Main Street on that side.
uh-huh.
Mm.
And is there a curb at that grass or is it just grass to the pavement?
No, there would still be, we would be putting in a new 6-inch reveal curb. We're putting new curbing along all of Main Street, proposed in this project, so. That would all be a 6-inch reveal, so, you know, realistically, people don't like to drive up and over the granite because it's that jagged, you know. Versus like an asphalt or a concrete, people are more likely to jump over typically.
Okay.
And I don't know, I think of the daycare that's right there. Have we thought about?
Can you move north a little
Sidewalk
bit on
or
the
something?
plan?
I don't know.
Are we the next sheet?
Yeah, next
Maybe
sheet.
on the next sheet then,
To
yeah.
the north.
Go south?
No, he's right there.
Oh, right there, yep.
That's.
No,
not-
No, the
Oh,
one with the
I'm
red
looking the
car.
wrong way.
right
Okay.
there.
That's the daycare?
The daycare is the one to see the wide gravel. That's the
With the
bakery.
red car right there.
Yeah, so to the right of that
Yeah.
is the
Building
daycare.
So this must be an older satellite image. That's the house that was
I don't
torn
know if
down.
it
There's a house
To get to the
there that's
sidewalk,
gone
they
now.
keep
They
Torn down.
took
That's
that
what was
house down.
confusing me.
to get to, I mean, they do take, I mean, I was just a thought that, because I know they do take the kids out in carriages.
And actually, what we should do, I'd have to physically go there and look, I can't tell you off the top of my head what those sidewalks, if there are any on the opposite side of the road. But maybe for the daycare, a crosswalk in there,
Oh, that's what I meant. I said sidewalks, I meant crosswalk.
yeah, a crosswalk right
That makes
there.
more sense.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
And-
Yeah,
You don't want
across.
sidewalk
Can you
there.
zoom out? Can you zoom out, Chris? Thank you.
Are we sure that is the daycare?
Yeah,
I'm very confused.
yeah, so.
Yeah, the
Because
reason it's
there is no
confusing is
sidewalk
because
in
that
front
house
of like
doesn't
Al
exist
River's
anymore.
house and that,
that's
there's
one that
probably
okay.
nothing there, but a
That's the one that's gone.
crosswalk. For the daycare people to access, cut across Main Street, so there'll have to be a ramp there. For the.
So I can talk to my manager about that. My only concern is now if we're talking about adding a crosswalk here and a crosswalk at School Street, and then we have another crosswalk here. Typically, they do not like to see that many crosswalks in that, like, you know, 400 feet. It poses a safety issue.
And not for nothing, but I know the daycare has been there for a long time, but what if there's a day where it's not there?
No, I was thinking.
Yeah,
that-
very true. We
Yeah.
put the money into it and it turns out to be,
And it switched ownerships a couple times.
yeah.
Second owner
Yeah.
Good point, Chris.
in over 30 years.
30 years. Wow.
But if there's any other questions that I can answer, you know, by all means.
You're gonna be taking care of all the aprons, right?
Yeah, so all of the aprons will be redone. Basically, the side of the sidewalk, they're gonna be concrete driveway aprons.
Well, yeah, yep.
The other side, we're just gonna do bituminous concrete, you know, the asphalt aprons on the side that's not getting sidewalk. But yes, all the aprons will be redone.
Okay, and especially in front of the old bakery?
Yep, the bakery will be done as well.
That is a very touchy. Yeah, that's the last map. that area right there, there is a drain there, and because the way it was set up for the bakery itself. That
Yep.
whole area right there.
Yep. Yeah, so
Okay.
we'll be redoing all the aprons here. And then I guess we'll need a little bit of direction if it's really not if this sidewalk is something we really want to keep, we can, but that's going to change. We can't really necessarily put granite curb in front of an existing sidewalk. But we don't necessarily have to make that decision right this minute.
I'd like it removed.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'd be okay if it was eliminated.
yeah, but move further to the north if you can. The
Yep.
other side of the bakery, go past the bakery.
So that was the
Oh.
only sheet.
Yeah, no, that's right where I wanted. Go back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just that
Yeah.
very corner.
Yeah, that very corner of the bakery, yeah.
Yep, okay.
I'm not sure
They
what
changed
that
that.
black curved line is going into the street there. It looks like you're putting curbing too close to the tractor trailer entrance. That's what it looks like. I don't know if it is or not.
So that is, yep, that is a proposed curb. Right now, we're basically following the edge of the pavement. So we weren't necessarily reinventing it.
Yep,
And there's a utility pole right here, so it doesn't look like they really can cut the corner much more than that anyways.
okay.
Okay, yeah.
And also remember,
Um,
it's not the bakery anymore, so it's not tractor
Well,
trailers,
no, but
although they do have,
he
they have
has
box
tractor-
trucks
Box
coming
truck.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
tractor trailer entry level there though, so it's not impossible someone could rent in.
Yeah.
But if it's no different,
Trying
if
to
it's
think
no
of
less
what
than it
looks
was,
like.
then
Totally
it's
different
not
with
an
the house
issue.
gone and everything.
Yeah, so we tried to match existing as close as possible,
Yeah.
and went right around this utility pole here, so they shouldn't
That
have any
utility
issues.
pole, Now I
um,
understand.
Yep.
And you guys are like in a preliminary design phase, so when you get progress in the design a little bit more, the town can get progress prints and Joe we could get a hard copy and walk the whole
Yep,
site for
absolutely.
comments. I mean, the next step is not construction drawing. I'm sure the town will get the.
So can we get back to the bakery so one of the issues with the bakery, of course, it's been there forever, but the trucks coming in and out of there, and I know you're saying it's not trailer truck, but he could potentially have
Right.
trailer trucks in there, and that
Could.
destroyed the sidewalks over and over again.
Mhm.
As they're coming out of the driveway, they can't make the turn, so
Mm.
I don't know. Just saying that we could be doing this beautiful project, and if something
I
changes,
mean, they go all the way across the road into the sidewalk on
they
the
would
other
come right in
side.
front of my house, right on my
Right up
sidewalk.
onto the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah, they can't.
And they couldn't make the turn.
Right. I don't know how to consider that going forward, but
And no
Well, maybe
tractor
they could
trailer sign.
reinforce. I don't know, can you show us where it is on the plan? I mean, they.
Right there.
Reinforce the concrete.
well, that's.
Sounds like an
one
issue.
spot. There's a couple spots, like the gravel driveway in. No,
It gets paved now.
That's
They-
paved
Yeah,
now.
they had
That
a rough
was-
time with it, but they
That's,
did pave
that's
that. in.
further north
Yep.
than this.
So it may be worth having a conversation with
Yes.
Zach Labonte about what he's anticipating for tenants in there, because it is storage, but part of that storage is described as contractor bays.
And he's got quite a bit of parking lot that he could use.
And he does.
And if it's contractor base, you get an electrician. He might order a tractor trailer load of conduit.
Something
you know?
needs to be,
Yeah,
yeah,
possibly.
delivered.
It is possible.
Yeah,
Could you put some sort of signage up against there? So if they hit the curb, they're gonna take down a sign and you.
But you're also talking about volume now, right? So the regular volume with the bakery was
True.
tractor
Truck.
trailers.
Yeah, now
If
it's
you're
not.
talking
Now,
about
maybe stuff-
periodic deliveries to a contractor,
True.
you're not talking about the same level of
That's
wear and
correct.
tear.
That's
But
correct.
it goes back to, it's probably worthwhile talking to Zach to say, what are you really
mean,
expecting here?
The same premise holds. Never know if it's gonna be a storage facility
Forever.
forever either, so somebody could. And what are you gonna do?
Put a bakery
I'm full circle. It's just,
Actually, technically speaking, now that there's been an interim owner, it could be a bakery again. It just couldn't be a bakery. when it
Oh,
was sold the first time.
original owner because,
Yeah.
because it was,
That was Vermont bread,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, Vermont Bread sold to.
somebody else.
sold
somebody-
to
Right,
the pirate
whoever wants
company
it,
from
whatever,
Georgia, yeah.
I think if you request to Zach that all the, because he can get all his product from the back loading docks to anywhere in that building. So realistically, you wouldn't even need to use that front loading dock with the big.
So
truck.
see if we could negotiate with him, no tractor
But I don't even know if
trailers.
that's the sidewalk.
No, that's not what Jamie's saying, though. Jamie's saying they can do a full pull around and not have to back into those.
They can
Oh,
use
they-
the back loading dock, which you can't. see.
No, so not use the front loading dock with the tractor trailer, so no tractor
But
trailers.
still, the tractor
yeah.
trailer can't go in that back lot either. Without going over the sidewalk. That's sidewalks cross from the wide entrance into the back. They
But
can't,
that driveway is wide enough, they should be able to.
well, maybe now with the. Maybe with the house gone, I don't know, but
I don't
that
know.
did change the curb and all of that.
Well, and there's a utility pole there, so
Right,
they're
there's a pole right
limited
there.
on where they can turn and what they can do.
Anyway, we're not solving that today. Nope. It's just that you have our beautiful sidewalks ruined.
What about moving one of those utility poles?
Yeah,
Now you're talking.
I mean,
talking.
there were
Yeah.
two right next to each other, it looked like. No, really, there were two right next to each other.
There are two right there on the plan.
Yeah.
Do you want your electric bill to go up again?
Oh, they'll find an excuse. You know, it's the bottom line.
Okay, so it looks like, so one of our next things is to schedule a public information meeting and get from Freeman, whatever, new contract to redesign, in addition to the contract to redesign the intersection.
Yeah.
When should we have the public information?
We were talking about early December, I think.
Early to mid, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Just something at the library, that we could talk about other components of the grant, the 65 Main, and let them know what all about the grant. What we got the money for, how much money, what projects it can support, not only just,
That's probably a better idea,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah, we can do one on the whole project, but
Right.
the bulk of it would be this,
Yeah.
probably. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
With any luck, we'll have at least a draft assistance agreement by then.
okay. So I guess if anybody doesn't have anything else, I mean, we can still have opportunities in the future to communicate. If anybody has any other good ideas. So, is everybody ready? Are we ready to wrap it up?
That's up to you, Madam Chairman.
I want, it's not that often that we all get together in this, with all the people in the room, so I don't wanna cut it short for anybody, so
But you wanted to talk about the,
afterwards.
okay,
We can talk something about that.
okay.
So let's adjourn this meeting of the MSRAC on November 8th. And move on, so next month, we might have a field trip, we might have a public information here. December could be happening.
Thanks, Chris.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm so sorry.
So I guess we are adjourned, guys.
So it's the thing that I wanted to go over to.